Good morning. So I am joined today by Lavina Mehta MBE, which is super impressive. And today we're going to be talking about all things feel good because Lavina, this is what you have made your life's work. And you've even been awarded an MBE for it. How exciting for you. Take me back to when this whole movement that you began started.
Oh, thank you, firstly, Andrea. So excited to speak to you today. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's only started for about 5 years. It's still a bit surreal when you say those letters. I mean, to me, I'm just Lavina. I'm most importantly a mum of three. And I qualified as a personal trainer about 5 years ago, about a year and a half before the COVID pandemic, totally unexpectedly doing this lovely new path in life, which I absolutely love. But I gave up my corporate career, as a lot of women do, after becoming mum. And after my third child, I was basically a global project manager, and it was pretty difficult to manage work and life and the kids. So it's when I actually fell in love with fitness myself that I actually did the courses, Andrew, just to learn about it from my own knowledge, because I was thinking exercise for me has not just helped me lose the baby weight and get in some good shape, but what it did for me mentally in terms of life experiences and so many things, that we go through in midlife.
Mm. What I
Yeah,
find
so
really interesting about what you say there, Lavina, is most people who start with like a passion project, if you like, it starts off by doing the work on themselves, and then it's that realization that actually this problem that I had, whether it was for you, it was wanting to get back to fitness again after having children, and then you realize now I've been presented with a solution. It almost opens a pathway of curiosity in terms of how can I dig into this even more, and then how can I spread the word. Is that how it was with you?
Yeah, totally. I was just like amazed. So, my mum is actually a biological scientist, and the whole Feel Good with Lavina comes from my mum. So, she'd written her second book, Feel Good with Food, which when I was very heavily pregnant, was typing up. And very similarly, she found her path when my brother and I had got into secondary school, and she fell in love with going back to science of food. And she talked about antioxidants, and she literally researched the magic behind good nutrition. And that gave me such an exciting understanding, just typing the book, like learning a lot about the science behind that side, that when I started doing strength training, which was totally new to me. So I have to point out, Andrea, that I was never sporty. It's not something that I've grown up with. Like people think, oh, she's a personal trainer, she's probably been training all of her life. And that's a really important message that I feel it's never too late. So I obviously started training in my 30s. And
Mm.
like you say, it's that curiosity that how is this getting me through some of the hardest challenges in life? Like, unfortunately, we lost my dearest father-in-law, who I was extremely close to from a brain tumor, and we all lived together. So, having seen him, deteriorate and losing him within 6 months from this terrible disease, but it was really going into the gym or doing movement or going for a walk that actually kept me sane. And that curiosity, I never ever thought I would want to sit exams again. But I just decided to learn about it in the evenings when the kids were asleep. And I never even planned on training women. It's only when a few friends started finding out that, I'd qualified as a personal trainer and had a little space in our home basement. And I decided to start training women one to one. And it was a very different concept, I guess, because people were used to either just going to the gym. At that point,
Mm.
the pandemic hadn't hit, and we hadn't really got into home workouts as much. And I guess what I was offering was slightly different because it can be so daunting to go into a gym environment, especially as a female, when I'm telling them to start strength training and lifting weights. There's almost that sort of barrier, I don't know, in
Mm.
gyms where you see a very male dominated environment by the weight section. And a lot of my women, were going through so many different phases from the age of 30 to 70. I was just dropping my kids off to school, and I didn't realize the demand would be so high. And it was the most the best experience for me, I think, before the pandemic hit is just to learn about women's health. And we did so many different things, correcting mobility. I had a lovely 70-year-old that couldn't even lift her arms up because of shoulder injuries. We were going through other phases like the menopause with some of my clients when it was not really talked about as much as it is now. And it was a brilliant experience for me. But then obviously the pandemic hit. And at that point, I was already talking about my lovely concept of exercise snacking, which we can talk about today if you want to. And it was just to really break down the barriers for all ages. I kind of want movement to be a part of your feel-good toolkit for everyone. And I started going live totally unexpectedly on my social media, which was very private and closed off. And I said to my husband, we need to do something to help people through the pandemic. And we just started going live twice a day. And I got my husband and my youngest son involved. And then obviously it developed into getting my dear mother-in-law also involved to try and get everyone moving for our immunity, for our mental health, for community, the combating the loneliness. So many benefits I can list out for you. But yeah, it's been an incredible experience.
Well, it was this whole being active on social media that really caused you the biggest pivot in terms of your life direction, because you say it so lightly, but obviously during the pandemic everything changed for all of us. And yes, we hear of the I suppose the more famous fitness celebrities who went live and got everyone moving, but there were many people who were also doing a similar sort of thing. And what made you so unique was culturally no one from your background was doing the kind of thing that you were doing. And also you were
Yeah.
involving an a person who was older and not necessarily used to moving, and also from a cultural background who wasn't used to exercising. So the combination was fairly magical, and I'm assuming wasn't something that you foresaw taking off in the way that it did. It was just something that felt very natural to you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I was camera shy when I then asked my mother-in-law to join me. She became quite introverted after losing my father-in-law. And obviously, she was totally hesitant about coming on camera. And I said, Mummy, let's just give it a go. Because I could see the older generation trying to log on to Instagram, where we were going live twice a day. And, my dear parents, who aren't very tech savvy, I was like, no, we need to do something for the elderly. I just felt they're being so neglected. And you've hit on the nail on the head about the South Asian community. So I think it was December 2019, so before the pandemic, where Sky News picked up on my little exercise snacking advent calendar. So I was just having a bit of fun. I'd open out my Instagram account and I was doing daily little bits of movement, in the park, in Waitrose, at home, like just doing random little minutes just to show people that you can exercise anywhere. And it was quite a lot of fun. And it was then when I started researching the science behind exercise, and I was looking at diseases that are so prevalent in my community, like diabetes. So South Asians are, at the time, 6 times more likely than the average white person to have diabetes. And we know that type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes can be reversed through lifestyle changes, exercise, good nutrition, all of that. And I was just fascinated. So I did try and raise a Get UK Asians Fit campaign because I was just alarmed by the fact that we are so prevalent with diabetes, which then leads on to heart disease, things like Alzheimer's and dementia, which, exercise has a massive role in reducing our risks of, just weren't talked about. They're kind of taboo subjects in the South Asian community. So I do have a huge passion for trying to get my community fit. And then when I kicked it off with my mother-in-law, I was like, let's get on all the Asian platforms where exercise and movement isn't something that we've been brought up with. There was a lack of understanding. And let's translate the workouts into Gujarati, which is, my language. That I'm Jain, so it's similar to Hindu, but I wanted to make sure that we're breaking the barriers of even things like language. And Andrea, it just unexpectedly went, kind of viral. It went out to India, it went out to Kenya. We had people messaging us saying, I've never ever seen my grandparents move like this. They're lifting weights, they're using their baked bean tins, and they've bought some resistance bands off Amazon, and they're just using safe household objects. And it was, like all generations looking at that change. And yeah, we still go live every Friday. I'm not going to stop that. And my mother-in-law has been amazing. I do it sometimes with my mum as well, who's 77. And they're both such good sports. And I think the way that I sold it to her was that you're going to be able to help people. And that's very deep in our religion. It's all about, trying to help others. It's kind of like I said, it's good karma in a way, right, for her. But she's loved it. She's got so strong herself. She's managed to reverse her pre-diabetes. She's brought down her blood pressure. She's had less knee pain. Her osteoporosis. She had a fall where they said she should have been, got a fracture, but she didn't have a fracture. So the doctor was asking her, like, what are you doing? And I think she's seeing the benefits in her own life with her own grandchildren and being able to have that stamina and energy. And it's given us this incredible bond. I get asked, especially in the South Asian community, a lot of women say to me, are you sure that's not your mum? And how do you get on with your mother-in-law so well? But again, that's another message. I just think that we've created something that we never were doing before, but it's just brought us so much closer, which, I cherish. It's like, I cherish every time I go live with her.
And talk me through the moment where you got awarded your MBE for services to health and fitness from this thing that you started organically and ended up going global. What was that moment like?
Oh gosh, pinch me now. I basically got an email, I would say in June. So we started going live in March, and it was before I think even Joe Wicks went live. It was just a wild idea. So it wasn't like there was a lot of personal trainers doing it, which obviously there was during the pandemic eventually. And it was just in June, I got an email saying, you've been nominated for an MBE, and would you like to accept it? And I just thought, oh my gosh, this isn't happening. There was just no way. I had to call the palace, literally, like the offices there, and check if it was real. And I tried to sort of find out if anyone had actually nominated me. It only came out in October, so it was all under embargo. So there's a period of about 2 months where I kind of knew this was happening and I couldn't share it with anyone. But I just carried on, doing my thing and just going live twice a day and just getting more and more people to join us. And yeah, it was announced in October with the likes of Mr. Motivator, Joe Wicks, and Marcus Rashford. And it was incredible because I'm just, I'm a very real, what you see is what you get, even on social media now. I have just kind of embraced the journey, but it was never intentional, any of this. And yeah, it's such a huge honor. I mean, it's definitely opened the doors in terms of my mission, which is to try and help as many people as I can feel good. And it's not just physically, it's mentally, it's raising risk, the awareness of these diseases that we can reduce our risks of. And yeah, I guess it's insane that it's happened. We didn't actually go and receive the MVE until the following year because of the pandemic, and it was still very limited. I took my husband. I couldn't take as many people as I'd hoped. I was wearing a mask. You probably saw my sari, and I was wearing a mask. Waiting in Windsor Castle. I mean, it's a huge, huge honor, and it's something that I'm so grateful for, but it's given me, I guess, that platform where hopefully I can help more people with.
Oh, it's just amazing. It is just amazing.
Oh,
You touched on the words exercise snacking, and anyone who follows you on Instagram will understand exactly what you mean by this, because you and I have met many times throughout our work that that we do in our various different spaces. And one,
Yeah.
you always turn up in a pair of trainers, which, can I say, are always very snazzy and go very beautifully with your outfit. And two, the whole thing about snacking is, or exercise snacking, is that you can grab little bits here, there, and everywhere in the same way that you can do bite-sized chunks of food, you can do bite-sized chunks of anywhere. And
Yeah.
even recently in Wimbledon, running up and down the stairs in Wimbledon, just to show that's a moment where you can do exercise snacking. So talk people through the whole idea of where this came about and how they can get involved themselves.
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, the best way is for us to show everyone, but we'll come back to that. I'll quickly explain what it is. But Andrea, you've just summed it up beautifully. So there is scientifically backed. I'm writing a book about it at the moment, which is very exciting. But I found out about exercise snacking back in 2019. That's when I kicked off that, crazy advent calendar of mine. And what I was amazed about is the fact that every little minute counts. And we are all leading such busy, hectic lives, especially as women. I guess, I'm in midlife, I'm going through peri-menopause, which I talk about very openly. We're juggling families, we're juggling maybe work. We've got, the aging parents. It's difficult for all of us, I think, to fit in that hour and a half traditional workout. And what's also interesting is that even if you get that workout done every morning, what I'm finding now, and that's where I go into workplaces, with my ex-corporate hat on, is that we're sitting for such long periods through the day. And, every time I'm at any function and I see people sitting for more than half an hour, I'm like raring to get everyone up and moving, because it's, the sitting is the new smoking, as I've been saying for a few years, and it is detrimental to our health. But unfortunately, hybrid working has such advantages. But a lot of people are working from home and they're probably stuck at their Zoom screens all day. And I want them to just break it up. And the science is growing and growing on this topic, which is why I'm writing about it. And every time I find a new little bit of research, it just backs up what I've been trying to encourage people to do, which is just to start moving regularly and use it as a little treat, not just for your body, but for your mind. Know that it all counts, even if it's a minute, even if it's 5 minutes. And, I have snacks for everything. You've seen me in action. Obviously, Wimbledon was the latest one, where, every interval I would be like, just get up, stand, do a few heel raises, do some squats, sit down, sit up. Strength training as much as we can. So get your press ups in against the wall. I want it to be normalized in all workplaces, where I go in, and I try and get people to do it at the coffee machine. It should just be a normal thing, hopefully in a few years' time. But it's pretty incredible that it is scientifically backed. And, I don't know about you. Do you find the same? It's
Mm.
tough, right? When we're juggling so much to actually get movement into our lives. And what I love about movement is the feel good endorphins. So I think anytime you're stressed, I've used it for my own, the symptoms that I've had for the last 5 years. I'm 45 now. I started my perimenopause when I was 40, when I kicked off this whole new career path, and I didn't quite realize that I was perimenopausal until last year. But when I'm battling with anxiety, or if I haven't had a good sleep, or if I'm lacking energy, lacking that motivation, if I've got a bit of brain fog, I will just use some of these little techniques that I harp on about. And it may just be getting out in nature for 5 minutes, just walk around the
Mm.
garden, walk around the block. I guarantee that mental health benefit is just so exciting to me. Those endorphins get released quite quickly. So I just encourage everyone, to keep moving. Like even when we're sitting here, we could just be
Yeah.
doing some
Yeah,
simple movements here
absolutely.
to alleviate our back pain. There's lots of snacks out there, but I want people to find things that they enjoy. And, I cover a more of a holistic approach to, I guess, feeling good. It's everything hand in hand, right? It's what we eat, is how we sleep, is how we move. And I think stress reduction plays such a huge part. So even the Friday lives that I do with my mother-in-law, we start with one of my breath snacks, and it might just be a minute, but that is such an incredible technique in itself, that even the power of our breath to kick in our parasympathetic nervous systems and just help us. You can do it anywhere, right? You could do it in the office if you've got a big meeting. I sometimes do it before a big interview if I'm going live or something.
Mm.
So yeah, there's lots of little bits of the feel good toolkit, but I just hope it gives people a bit of hope that don't worry if you can't get that full hour in. You can still
Mm.
do little bits, sprinkle it into your day.
What's interesting to pick up on that is that, try is reminding people that um, this whole idea of doing an hour's workout in a gym it's a marketing and sales tool. It's not how we were naturally
Mhm.
meant to be, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Of course, it makes sense. It's a powerful tool, and it's worked so well for many years. And I think also
Yeah.
we've not really stepped back and or zoomed out and looked at it and thought, oh my gosh, yeah, of course, there are all these things actually that we do throughout our day that it all counts as exercise.
Hmm.
It's free, and no one is
Yeah.
pushing a latest bit of equipment or a latest fad, or because really all it comes down to
Yeah.
is simply moving our body. And I know when I was doing my group coaching for my This Girls on Fire community,
Yeah.
sometimes it'd be an hour or so, and I'd say to them in the middle, right, come on, everyone up, and we would just call
Yeah.
it Taylor Swift it, shake it off, and I'd just get everyone just moving, jumping up and down, and everyone would be laughing, and I could see them
Yeah.
all over Zoom and and this sort of stuff, and I use the analogy all the time. It's you if it's brain fog, or if it's stress, or if it's whatever, you need you need to change your state. You're getting yourself in a state. You need to change your state, and the quickest way to do that is either through breath or through movement. And to get your body sort of energized, put a song on. I've got a playlist. It's on Spotify. It's been This Girls on Fire playlist, and it's all songs. It's all free, just songs, just to get your blood pumping. Jump up and down for 3 minutes, woo, around the kitchen, and then sit back down and do what you're doing.
Yay.
Your
Do you
heart's
know what?
your heart's
I
pounding.
mean,
You're a bit like this, and then you're laughing because it's
yeah,
so ridiculous,
yeah,
and that's it. Job done.
yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I say keep our brains fit. It's incredible for reducing our risks of dementia and Alzheimer's. I'm very passionate about this, having seen my own grandmother, and especially in the Indian community when it was just never talked about. She suffered with Alzheimer's for the last decade of her life. So I'm now an ambassador with Alzheimer's Society. I do the same as an ambassador for Diabetes UK. It's the things that we can't see, but that change in
Mm.
state, like even now, Andrew, I feel like, let's just march on our feet and just punch out any worries. I often get this boxing done, seated or standing. We could do just punch it out. I don't want to know who you're thinking about, but everyone watching, you know what? Just give it a go. Body weight, add some tin cans, add something exciting, do some star jumps, do some sit and stands. I think that is so powerful. Like squats are the king of lower body exercises for me. Even just body weight ones when you're watching Netflix in the evenings, just some stretching is so incredible. And that
Mm.
brings in that bit about the breath, that you can tie in movement with slow breathing, whether you want to call it yoga or meditation. I'm obviously trying to just make everything very easily accessible, and it's all free, right? So there is no cost associated with any of the stuff that I hope to promote. And yeah, I mean, the gym is great. The gym may work for
Mm.
you, but it
Of
was in
course.
2019 on Sky News. The presenter laughed at me when I said, I'm trying to promote home workouts with tin cans and rucksacks. And he just sort of looked at me. I'll have to dig up that interview. And he said, oh, that sounds interesting. But at the time, it just wasn't known, right? How much we can do at home. And I thank the pandemic for reframing the way we look at fitness. It's given people a lot of confidence to do those home workouts. So I'm absolutely thrilled. I think that's one of the best things that has come out of it. But yeah, we're leading busy lives. We're all, we've got high stress levels. These are some of the easiest ways that we can start feeling good. And I think, you talk a lot about mindset and mental health. And my slogan is to exercise for sanity, not vanity. It goes beyond how I look. You know, I don't look like some of those pictures that were put out there when I turned 40. And that was just a photo shoot my husband and I did because we both had lost a lot of weight and we just thought we'd do it for a bit of fun for us. And now they've gone out, you know, in media and everything everywhere. But I often say, I may not look like that right now, but I know what I'm doing is going to benefit me mentally. It's going to help me think about aging well and how I can stay independent for as long as possible and how I can try and reduce the risks of so many of these common diseases, you know, and we
Mm.
have higher risk in midlife as we go through menopause as well. So I hope it inspires people, and obviously check out the stuff that I put out there for some ideas. I haven't got Andrew doing a full exercise snack yet on this. But when we
Well,
last met, we were dancing. Do you remember? I said to you on the dance floor, I said, "This is a dance snack, Andrea." You know, I had my trainers on and we were dancing. We had so much fun, right? I could feel the energy off you. We were both smiling. Nick was dancing. He's looking at me like, who is this crazy woman? But movement is everywhere. It's
yeah.
everywhere. Just grab it, do what you enjoy, right? Whether it's while you're cooking, while you're at your meetings, if you're not required on camera, get some little bits in. Do it when you're watching TV for too long. Anytime you're sitting too long, I hope you can just think about little ways that you can add a little snack in.
So if we could leave anybody with a quick snack hack that they can incorporate into their sort of daily life, what would your top snack hack be?
Oh, okay. So definitely there's a couple I would say. So on the breath side, obviously use the stuff that I put out there on my YouTube and my Instagram, but anytime you're feeling stressed or anxious, you can do this anywhere. You can just be in the car, on the school run, in the toilets, at work, wherever you are. I would just encourage you to tune into your breath, breathe in for 4 and exhale for 6. So you're trying to exhale for longer than your inhale. A couple of rounds of that, or even the box breath that I showed on my TED talk to 100 teenagers and got them doing it. That sort of stuff will help kick in this parasympathetic nervous system, which helps your body rest and digest and will help you 100% alleviate that stress state that you're in. In terms of exercise snacks, I would say my top two are definitely the wall press ups, the push ups that you can do anywhere. And that's where I started my strength journey. I had no upper body strength, but obviously over time you can progress to harder levels of press ups. But wall ones, we've got a wall anywhere. You can just get those done. And sit and stands, I would say, for the lower body is a fabulous one. And just something for your heart, your respiratory system. I love a bit of boxing. Like I was showing you, you know, just march on your feet, seated or standing, and punch out your worries, your stresses away. So there's a couple of little snacks to get you going.
That's just brilliant. It's so brilliant. And Lavina, I will put all your details here as well for everybody so that they can find you on socials and find you on online and everything else. Thank you so much for today. It was just brilliant and so nice to spend a bit of time about you with you and hearing your story and sharing your life lessons as well. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Andrea. I mean, it's wonderful seeing what you're doing. We keep meeting, you know, at these things that we're so passionate about, events. But it's been wonderful to have this proper conversation with you. And I hope it helps someone out there. That's my goal, is just even if it's one person a day that can just make one little change. Nothing's too small, everything counts, and it's never too late. But thank you for having me on this and keep up the amazing work.